How's it going, guys? Today we are looking at Pelle Larsson, the wing from Arizona. Spent his first year at Utah before spending his last 3 with Arizona. And at 6'6", 215 pounds, he'll be 23 years old by the time the draft takes place, so a little bit on the older side. And Pelle Larsson is a really intriguing player who does a bit of everything. He's a guy who averaged 13 points, 4 rebounds, nearly 4 assists last season on a very good Arizona team where I thought all 5 starters were certainly, fringe level NBA players. Larsson shot 52% from the field, 42% from 3, and 75% from the free throw line, while making 57% of his twos and just under 2 turnovers per game. So he does a little bit of everything. He's kind of like a Swiss Army knife, the classic phrase that you'll hear a lot of commentators say. I would say his best skill is he's a good catch and shoot wing who can get it off the catch, can move into his shots, can be a standstill stationary shooter, but shot nearly 40% from 3, kind of up and down throughout his collegiate career, whether that was in conference play or not in conference play, but ended up somewhere around just below 40%, so a good 3-point shooter. And then his passing is also really solid. At Arizona, I really felt like if he would have had the ball in his hands more, they could have been a better team. Then the ball was in the hands of like Caleb Love a lot, and then Boswell a little bit less as the season went on. But I felt like if Larsson maybe was accentuated as the primary playmaker, they could have even been better as a team. I just thought he did a good job of getting people involved and then also getting to the basket. He does a good job of breaking down his defender and using his size to get to the rim. Not great at it, but I would say above average. And then on defense, he's a good team defender, around 1 steal per game. Not necessarily like a great individual defender, but understands where he needs to be and rotates and competes on defense. Now, on the flip side, some of his weaknesses. He's really not elite at any one thing. I would say his best attribute, like I said before, is his shooting, but he's a good shooter, and he's had real fluctuations. Like this past season, he was at 75% from the free throw line. Before in his career, he's been upper 80s. So that's the one skill where I could see him becoming elite, but even his 3-point shooting this season where he was at 42% from 3, it was on just over 3 attempts and went down to 38% during conference play. Again, good numbers, but just not elite at any one thing. And he's not an explosive athlete either, so while he is good to above average to getting to the basket, he's not great at finishing around the rim. And he can struggle defensively when guarding shooters, which was interesting to note. There were a couple of times when I noticed he wasn't doing a good job of trailing when they were running off of screens, etc. And so that was one area where I noticed he struggled a little bit on the defensive end. Now, would I draft Pelle Larsson? Maybe. The only reason I say maybe is that he's a guy who would really depend on what type of players I currently have on my roster. If I have guys who are more offensive minded, I might look for a more defensive minded wing, where vice versa, if I had a more offensive minded team, or defensive minded team, I would look maybe at adding Pelle Larsson more seriously. I think he goes anywhere between 30 and 50, so I think he's a second round pick. I do think he will be drafted, and I think teams like the Kings, who might lose Malik Monk, the Sixers, who knows what's going to be left on their roster, and the Celtics. I think he could be a good backup to their wings over there. Also, a last team I'll throw out there would be the Orlando Magic. Depending on who they take in the first round, I could see them looking at somebody like Furphy. Maybe they want somebody like Pelle Larsson, who's more ready to play right away, and then allowing Furphy to develop. So there's a few teams I think could make sense for Pelle Larsson. I think he's a good, smart basketball player who will play in the NBA. I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.